Hello and welcome to Module 3. Today we're going to be talking about the chapters 4 and 5. Chapter 4 covers civil rights and Chapter 5 covers civil liberties. There's several videos that you should watch in relation to this. And also, the thing to remember as we look at Chapter 4 on civil rights is that we take a historical approach and we look at civil rights in the United States across time. We make the argument that there hasn't been a straight line improvement in civil rights, but actually that what we've seen is we've seen moments of great advances and also other moments where perhaps it's receded a little bit. And you might look at this in many different ways. We focus primarily on civil rights for African Americans, but we also touch on civil rights for women, for same-sex couples, and a couple other groups. Chapter 5 covers civil liberties, and civil liberties are very interesting. Our civil liberties come from the Bill of Rights. This is always a little bit confusing for students. Civil rights and civil liberties aren't the same thing as we teach it in political science. Civil liberties are protections from the government, whereas civil rights are protections by government action of concepts such as equality of opportunity or even equality of outcomes. And so as we look at civil rights and civil liberties, we get confused because then we say, and your civil liberties are in the Bill of Rights. Well, the reason why civil liberties are in the Bill of Rights is that the way that we use these terms has changed over the years. In fact, protections from government actions used to be called immunities. And so you'll see in the Constitution a reference to immunities being things that citizens have protections from being charged with or being imprisoned for. After all, a civil liberty isn't a protection from your employer's dissatisfaction. A civil liberty isn't a protection from your neighbor not liking you. It's a protection from the government. That would explain why, for instance, you can't be imprisoned for wearing a badge that says meat is murder if you're a veterinarian, almost said, a vegetarian. But you could probably be dismissed from your job at McDonald's for it. And so when we look at those rules, we're talking about how we relate to the government. But when we talk about civil rights, we're often talking about how we relate to society. And therefore, the government needs to protect our opportunities to vote, our opportunities to have equal protection under the law, and equal protection of our right to contract and other concepts like that. And without help from the government, quite often some people or some groups might be oppressed by their lack of power within society. So anyway, we start with civil rights and we have some interesting ideas related to that, and then we follow with civil liberties. I do include a list of civil liberties that are in the U.S. Constitution beneath the slide presentations for Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, and I strongly encourage you to be familiar with these. I created this list several years back, and we really haven't gained a lot of civil liberties in the meantime, so it's still pretty current. Now, I've included a couple videos. One of the videos is about a book that was published a couple years back called Rise from the Rails, The Story of the Pullman Porters. And I found this to be both an interesting video and an interesting read. And I thought, how can we look at groups who helped secure civil rights in the United States that perhaps aren't as famous as we as other groups that we see. You'll see in our slide presentation that I take a moment to expand a little bit on the life of Rosa Parks And Rosa Parks is, she caught attention later as an individual for all of the sacrifices that she made for civil rights. But I think that, we forget sometimes what happens to people who put their lives and careers on the line to attain civil rights for others, right? It's one of those collective action problems we were talking about in chapter 1, is that it would be to all of our benefit, right, for civil rights to be obtained without us having to do any of the work to attain it. We are, or we try sometimes to be free riders, and then when we are free riders, sometimes the work doesn't get done. Somebody has to be a driving force, and so we need to give some of those people credit. Now, the International Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and their president, Asa Philip Randolph, were early leaders in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, when being a civil rights leader was perhaps even more dangerous than it is today. So I'm inviting you to look at the International Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, and I strongly encourage you to watch the video and to truly appreciate some of the things that these rail car porters went through in order to help attain civil rights for everyone. In addition, I included a video of Martin Luther King's A Knock at Midnight, which is one of the more powerful speeches, presentations ever given, in my opinion. But as part of the value added of this course, that if I see something pertinent and I see something that might be useful for you to be made aware of, that I'm going to include it in the course. And I strongly recommend that you take a few moments and you listen, and you can listen to the actual words, right? We tend to have a couple speeches by Martin Luther King in our mind. Here's one that might have slipped your attention. So you also, just as with the other modules, you're going to want to complete a quiz on the material. I really am very fascinated by this section of the course. It might be pertinent in our lives right now, but in addition to that, awareness, as we have to pick up the flag at some times in our life and try to move things a little bit further ahead. Well, anyway, I wish you all well. I hope you stay safe, and I hope you have a productive next week. And if there's anything that I can do to help you on your way as a student, feel free to contact me. You can either use my campus email address, or if absolutely necessary, send to the D2L message. But note that I'll probably send you I'll probably reply on your campus email, because that's where I do all of my communication. If necessary, we might be able to, or to set up an appointment where you can talk to me over the telephone as well. If you have any questions, it's better to ask them. All right, have a great week.